My name is Evelyn Moore. I was 58 years old when the weight in my chest snapped like a brittle branch, and everything in my body collapsed at once. The room was white, too white, the kind of color that burns into your eyes. My sister was shouting my name, and the paramedics pushed tubes and wires into me. I held on tight to a worn photo of my boy, Matthew, the smile of a graduate, the laugh I could still hear in my ears. The pain in my chest was fire, fire that spread until I thought I would scream, but no sound came. And then, as sudden as a switch, the fire went out. The monitors flatlined, the voices blurred, and I felt myself lifting like smoke. You don't realize how heavy a body is until you leave it behind. I was light, almost weightless, rising above that hospital bed. I saw the curve of my own face, pale and gray. I saw the panic in the doctor's eyes, the helplessness in my sister's sobs, and yet I felt no fear. The air itself wrapped around me like warm water. It was the first breath I had taken in years that did not ache. The sound of the machines faded into a hush, a silence deeper than any silence I had known. It was not emptiness, it was presence, a holy pause. I hovered there, watching the people fight for a life I had already left behind. The photo of Matthew was still clutched in my limp hand. For 10 years, that picture had been my anchor. For 10 years, bitterness had been my shadow. Now I understood something that had escaped me in the years of anger. The soul is awake when the body dies. There was no black void, no end, only a doorway opening into something greater. My senses sharpened, though I had no flesh. I could see in all directions at once, as if the veil had been torn away. And then I felt it, the pull, gentle but irresistible, like a tide drawing me home. It was not dragging me against my will. It was inviting, as though the very air whispered, "Come closer." I turned from the hospital, and a golden shimmer appeared ahead of me. It wasn't the blinding glare of the sun, but a soft radiance, the color of honey poured through crystal. Peace settled over me, deeper than sleep, deeper than any prayer I had whispered in my broken nights. For the first time in a decade, the anger was not choking me. The weight of grief loosened its claws. Every nerve of my soul drank in this stillness. You don't know how thirsty you are until you taste living water. The corridor of light widened into a vastness I could not measure. I moved without walking, drifting closer to the glow. My body was gone, but my being was intact. My thoughts, my memories, my love for Matthew, all of it remained. And yet, I felt layers of pain peeling away as I went. I looked back once. The doctors leaned over me, pressing, shouting, but their voices were muffled, like shouts through thick glass. My sister clutched my hand and prayed. She thought I was gone forever, but I wanted to tell her, this was not the end. Death was not a wall, it was a threshold. A tenderness washed over me, and I understood, though no words were spoken, that the one I had prayed to for years was near. He had always been near, even in my bitterness. I could almost feel him smiling, not because my life had ended, but because my soul was beginning. As I drifted deeper into that golden pull, the fear of death broke completely. It was nothing like I imagined. No thunder, no terror, only a gentle release, like slipping out of chains. Emotion swelled in me, shock at leaving my body, awe at discovering that I was still alive in a way more real than ever. And in that moment, I knew a truth I had ignored my whole life. The soul is not bound by the grave. The grave is only the body's bed. While the soul walks on. I breathed, though I had no lungs. The air was thick with peace, almost sweet on the tongue. Ahead of me, the glow grew brighter, waiting, promising. I let go, and I went in. The glow unfolded around me, and suddenly I was no longer floating above hospital lights, but standing on ground that did not feel like ground. A field stretched out as far as my eyes could see, but the stalks swaying there were not wheat, not exactly. They shimmered like golden glass, bending without wind, alive with light from within. Each stem hummed with a quiet pulse, as though creation itself was breathing. I lifted my hand, and though I had no body as I once knew it, I could feel the softness brush against me. It was silk and warmth, and with it came a sweetness like the scent of honey and new blossoms after rain. You could drink the air there. Every breath was nourishment. Above, the sky was painted in colors that do not exist on earth. Lavender and pearl twined together, shifting as if the heavens themselves were singing. I turned slowly, in awe. drinking it in like a child at a sunrise. And in that perfect silence, I realized something. This silence was not empty. It was alive. It vibrated like music beyond hearing, filling every corner with meaning. And then I heard my name, not through ears, but through my very being. Evelyn. It was not a shout, not even a whisper. It was the voice that had spoken me into existence before I was formed in my mother's womb. It was the sound of home. I turned, and there he was. Not the Jesus I had seen painted on church walls with robe and halo. No. He was clothed in simplicity, the color of desert sand, but his very being radiated warmth like the heart of a candle flame. His presence thickened the air until I thought I would collapse under its beauty. He didn't just enter the field. He was the field, the silence, the sky. And his eyes, oh, his eyes. They were not blue or brown, not any color of this world. They were the color of compassion itself, endless depths that pierced me. He didn't look at me. He looked into me, through me. Every layer I had built, bitterness, anger, guilt, crumbled in his gaze. I wanted to fall. I wanted to run. I wanted to hide. And yet, at the same time, I wanted nothing more than to remain in that gaze forever. For the first time since Matthew was stolen from me, I saw myself. Not the broken mother, not the bitter woman who pretended forgiveness at church. I saw myself whole, shining, strong, the Evelyn God had imagined before grief twisted me. Tears came, but they were not like earth's tears. They fell as release, as rivers washing my soul. I sobbed without shame. The silence around us held me tenderly, as if heaven itself wept with me. Jesus did not rush me. He stood there, eyes steady, presence steady, letting me crumble, letting me be rebuilt. Then, gently, he lifted his hand. He did not touch me with skin, but the air itself wrapped me in a wholeness I had never known. You don't realize how starved you are for love until love himself stands before you. I thought I had known him in Sunday prayers, in hymns, in verses recited by memory, but this was different. This was the person behind every prayer, the one who had walked with me unseen through 10 years of midnight sobs. The silence around us deepened, and his smile came slowly, like dawn breaking. I felt his warmth seep into me, through me, filling every dark corner with light. He held out his hand, not a command, not a demand, an invitation. And when I reached for him, what met me was not flesh, but completion. The jagged shards of my heart clicked together like puzzle pieces finally restored. The ache, the gnawing emptiness, I felt them dissolve. He did not speak aloud, but his voice filled me. Come, there is something you need to see. The field brightened as he turned, leading me forward. Each step was no step at all, more like gliding through radiance. My body felt lighter still, as though my very soul had been peeled of its scars. And in that holy moment, I understood. Heaven was not just a place. Heaven was a person. His presence was the atmosphere, the air, the song. And with him, every wound could be made whole. Emotion surged in me, a holy awe, so fierce and so gentle that I thought my soul would burst. And the truth etched itself into me like fire. Silence in heaven is alive. It breathes. It speaks. It is love itself. Jesus' eyes never left me as he led me through that golden expanse, and my heart whispered what my lips could not. I am home. Jesus led me through the golden field until the stalks opened like a curtain, and before us flowed something that made me forget to breathe, if breathing was even the right word anymore. A river stretched wide, not of water, but of living light. It shimmered like molten crystal, and every ripple sang with a sound like thousands of tiny bells chiming together. The current sparkled as though it carried fragments of stars, moving with its own heartbeat, pulsing life into everything around it. I stepped closer to the bank. The light rose and fell gently, spilling reflections of heaven's sky across its surface. I felt the last threads of my sorrow begin to loosen. Just standing near that river, years of grief started to wash off of me. I wanted to cup it in my hands, to drink it, to be carried away in it forever. The air was charged with expectancy, as if this river was a doorway. And then, across the shimmering flow, I saw him. Matthew. He stood on the far side, clothed in radiance, smiling with that same crooked grin that used to fill our small Pennsylvania kitchen. His eyes lit up like they always did when he found a reason to laugh. My boy was whole, more alive than I had ever seen him. His hair caught the glow of the river. His face shone with joy, so pure it pierced me like sunlight through glass. Maddie, the word tore out of me, a cry that carried every year of longing. My knees buckled. I reached out my arms, aching to cross, to hold him again. He laughed, the sound bright, carrying across the water of light like music. Mom! His voice wrapped around me like the warmest embrace. I could almost smell the soap and sunshine that clung to his clothes in life. I wanted to run, to plunge into the river and cross to him, but my steps faltered. The current of light seemed both welcoming and too holy to touch. My heart was bursting with joy and ache all at once. My boy, my whole world was here. He was not gone, not lost. He was more alive than the day he left me. Beside me, Jesus stood quietly, watching my trembling joy. His eyes softened, as if he knew this reunion was a balm I had craved for 10 aching years. I fell to my knees on the golden ground, sobbing with relief, overwhelmed with gratitude. Every detail of Matthew's presence carved itself into me. The way his shoulders squared with confidence, the lightness in his step, the way he waved at me with both hands, just like when he was little and wanted me to see him from the soccer field. He was radiant, but he was still my boy. The river chimed louder, as though heaven itself celebrated our reunion. I wanted to shout thanks, to praise, to sing, but my heart could only weep. In that moment, I understood something. Heaven is not only light and beauty, it is reunion. It is the restoration of what we thought was lost forever. And it is only possible because of the one standing beside me, the Christ whose presence made this moment real. Matthew's joy was not just his own, it overflowed into me. For the first time in years, my chest was not tight with bitterness. For the first time, I felt hope, not as a fragile thread, but as a living force. I stretched out my hands toward him, desperate to close the distance, desperate to be mother and son again. The longing was so fierce that I thought heaven might let me break through the barrier. But even in my joy, I sensed there was more to this moment than reunion. Something waited beyond the surface of the river. Jesus placed his hand near mine, not touching, but steady, and I heard his voice within me again, calm as a song. There is more you must see. I could not imagine anything greater than the sight of my son alive, radiant, whole. My heart whispered, what more could I need than this? And yet, the air itself trembled with the weight of something deeper, something I did not yet understand. But for that moment, I allowed joy to flood me. My boy was safe, my boy was alive, and the river of light shimmered between us, promising that what was broken on earth was not broken here. Emotion swelled inside me, fierce joy tangled with longing, and I etched into my soul this truth. Heaven's reunion is real, but it is only through the light of Christ that we find it. I was still gazing at Matthew, soaking in the sight of him, when my eyes caught movement on the riverbank. My joy froze, like glass struck by a hammer. Another figure stood beside my son, a young man whose face I knew as well as my own nightmares. His hand rested lightly on Matthew's shoulder, and they were smiling at one another like old friends. It was Dante. The name throbbed in my chest like a reopened wound. Dante, the boy who had pulled the trigger. Dante, the one who stole Matthew from me. For 10 years, his mugshot had haunted my prayers. His shadow had seeped into my dreams. He was supposed to be in prison, caged for life. But here in the glory of heaven, he was radiant, laughing, alive. My knees buckled. I staggered back, rage flooding me in a tidal wave. My throat burned with a scream I couldn't release. This wasn't right. It couldn't be right. No, the word ripped out of me, raw and trembling, my hands clenched into fists. Why is he here? He killed my son. My tears fell, but they were not tears of joy now. They scalded, thick with fury. I turned to Jesus, my soul boiling with the old poison I thought had left me moments before. My heart pounded with accusation. This is wrong. You are holy. He is guilty. He should not stand beside my boy. Jesus' gaze met mine, steady and sorrowful, like a father watching his child wound herself. His eyes did not condemn me, but they held a depth of grief not for Dante but for me. His voice entered me, calm and unshakable. He called on me in prison. 5 years after his sentence, he fell to his knees on the cold floor of his cell. He wept. He repented. He gave his life to me. He is my child now, too. The words slammed into me. I stumbled back as if struck. My chest burned hotter than the heart attack that took me. I shook my head. No, no, it isn't fair. Justice means he pays forever. He stole Matthew's life. He stole mine. Across the river, Matthew's laughter softened. He looked at me with eyes that were not angry, not mournful, just filled with love. He looked at Dante, then back at me. A silent nod passed between them, as though my son was speaking without words. I forgave him. The rage inside me screamed louder. How could Matthew forgive? How could God forgive? What of my years of pain, my empty nights, my chest hollowed out by grief? I felt the weight of my hate pressing heavier, chaining me even here in heaven's light. Jesus' voice came again, a whisper as steady as the current of the river. Your son forgave the moment he arrived here. But you, my daughter, have been the one in a prison. 10 years, chained by bitterness. 10 years locked in your own cell. My heart convulsed. I dropped to the ground, clutching the golden stalks, sobbing from a place deeper than words. It hit me like a revelation. I had carried my cage with me. My hate had poisoned my body until it broke. I had lied to myself, to my church, to God. I had mouthed the word forgiveness but never lived it. I looked up at Jesus, desperate, trembling, shaking my head. I tried, I whispered, voice cracking. I said the words. But my heart was too full of hate. The silence of heaven thickened around me. Jesus knelt close, though he never rushed. His presence wrapped me in warmth, even as my bitterness screamed to hold on. And in that moment, something pierced me, the realization that salvation was bigger than I had ever allowed it to be. Even in prison, even in the pit of guilt, even for the one who shattered my life, redemption was possible. Emotion burned like fire in my chest, fury clashing with disbelief, grief tangled with mercy I could not yet bear. And I understood this. Salvation reaches into the darkest corners. It had reached Dante in his cell, and now it was reaching for me. I knelt there, shaking, my tears soaking into the golden ground, and for the first time since my heart had stopped, the field of heaven felt heavy. Rage was still clutching me, but beneath it was something more terrible truth. The truth that I had not been free. The truth that, for 10 long years, the one behind bars was not Dante. It was me. I had carried his crime like a stone in my chest, pressing down with every breath, hardening with every prayer I whispered through clenched teeth. My bitterness had eaten into me like acid, poisoning my laughter, thinning my joy, weighing my soul. The stone had grown heavier until it crushed me into the grave. And now, Jesus was showing me the cage I had built. He spoke gently, his voice wrapping around me like a blanket, yet unyielding in its honesty. Bitterness is a prison, Evelyn. Forgiveness is the key. Your son is free. Dante is free. But you have been bound. The words cracked something in me. I saw it clear, as if my life was playing before my eyes. Nights of pacing, whispering angry prayers, days of smiling at church while secretly nursing hate. My heart had never healed. It had calcified. And I saw, too, what it had done to my body, the tension in my jaw, the ache in my chest, the silent decay of anger eating through veins and arteries until my heart gave out. Hate had been the unseen killer. I had thought I was honoring Matthew by clinging to my rage, but in truth I had been strangling myself. Across the river, Matthew's gaze didn't waver. His smile was soft, almost pleading, as if urging me to see what he already knew. He had forgiven. He was free. He wanted the same for me. I pressed my hands to my chest. Inside, I could feel it a knot, black and thorny, tangled so tight that every beat of my heart was strangled by it. My soul recoiled from it, yet it was familiar, almost comforting in its bitterness. 10 years of identity had wrapped itself around that thorn. Without it, who was I? My sobs broke into gasps. I don't know how, I whispered. I don't know how to let it go. The silence of heaven swelled, tender but firm, like a parent teaching a trembling child to take a first step. Jesus leaned nearer, his compassion a weight greater than any condemnation could have been. Forgiveness is not a feeling, Evelyn. It is a choice. The act of unlocking the door to your own cell. It does not excuse what was done. It does not erase the pain. It sets you free. The words shook me. Could it be that simple? A choice? Not a lightning strike of emotion, not waiting for time to dull the wound, but one deliberate step toward freedom. I wanted to resist, to clutch the thorn tighter, to demand justice my way. But I saw what clinging had done. 10 years of emptiness, 10 years of poison, 10 years of a heart turned to stone. The weight of realization pressed hard, and I wept harder than I ever had before. Conviction scorched through me, tearing away the excuses I had wrapped around myself. And then, in the quiet that followed, another truth settled into me. This bitterness had not only robbed me of peace, it had muffled God's voice, dulled his presence, kept me walking as a shadow of the woman he had created. I raised my eyes to Jesus, broken, trembling, undone. His gaze did not flinch. It was steady, unwavering, filled with sorrow yet brimming with hope. And I knew the cage was mine, but the key was already in my hand. The emotion that filled me was raw conviction. I had been my own jailer, and now heaven was giving me a choice. I stayed there on my knees, shaking, clutching my chest as though I could tear out the thorny knot myself. It pulsed inside me like a parasite, heavy, poisonous, black. And I knew I could not walk another step into the light with that thing buried in me. My eyes lifted across the river. Matthew stood waiting, radiant and patient, his smile tender but steady. Beside him, Dante lowered his head, as if humbled, not demanding my mercy, but silently grateful for the mercy of Christ that had already covered him. I drew in a trembling breath. My lips parted, but my voice cracked. I had said the words before, empty words at Bible study, polite words in church prayers. They had never reached my heart. Now Jesus waited for truth. My throat tightened. Every fiber of my old self clung to rage, screaming, "Don't say it." But above that scream was another voice, gentle, persistent, the whisper of freedom. "I forgive you." The words stumbled out, weak and trembling. But the moment they left my lips, something shifted. The thorny knot twisted. The cage rattled. I said it again, louder this time. "I forgive you, Dante." And then it happened. The knot inside my chest shattered. Not with a slow fade, not with a soft dissolve, but with an explosion of light. The black thorns disintegrated into dust, blown away by a wind that was not of this world. In their place, warmth surged through me, pure and clean, flooding every hollow I had carried for 10 years. It was light living, breathing light pouring into my soul until I gasped. My chest expanded as though I could finally breathe after a decade underwater. The poison was gone. The stone was gone. I was free. The golden field brightened around me. The sky swirled richer, deeper. The river of light chimed louder, cascading like a symphony of joy. And across its glowing current, Matthew's face broke into the brightest smile I had ever seen. He ran. He ran straight into the river of light. The current did not resist him, it embraced him, sparkling like diamonds clinging to his clothes. He splashed through and came to me, his arms wide. And when he reached me, he wrapped me in an embrace I had ached for through every sleepless night. My boy. I buried my face in his shoulder, and there it was, the scent of him. That mix of laundry, soap, and sunshine. Heaven had preserved it. Tears streamed down my face, not heavy this time, but light, like rain after drought. "Mom," he whispered, his voice thick with love. "I've been waiting for you to let go." I held him tighter, joy bursting inside me like fireworks. For the first time in 10 years, I was whole. For the first time since that night of horror, I was not chained. Forgiveness had unlocked me. I turned my face toward Jesus. His smile was radiant, filled with delight, as though he had waited all these years for this moment too. The warmth of his approval wrapped around me, not as judgment, but as the embrace of a father proud of his child. And I understood. Forgiveness had not changed Dante. Forgiveness had changed me. It had set me free from a cage I had built with my own hands. Emotion surged release, sweet and overwhelming, like drinking cool water after years in a desert. And the truth carved itself into my soul. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a choice, a doorway. And on the other side waits freedom, peace, joy, the very heart of heaven itself. I clung to Matthew, unwilling to let go, my heart overflowing with joy and relief. For a moment I thought perhaps heaven had granted me what I longed for most, to stay here, to remain in the light, to never be parted again. I looked at Jesus, my voice trembling but bold with desperation. Please, can I stay? Let me remain here with him, in this peace, in this light. I have nothing left on earth. My work is done. His smile was kind, but his eyes carried purpose, steady and unshakable. He spoke into my spirit with a weight that pressed deeper than words. Your work is not finished, Evelyn. You must return. The thought tore me open. My grip on Matthew's shoulders tightened. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I can't. I can't go back to that broken body, to that world of pain and sorrow. Please, let me stay here. Matthew placed his hand gently on mine. His smile held no sorrow, only a tender strength. Mom, it's okay. I'll be here waiting. This isn't goodbye, just see you later. Tears streamed down my face, but this time they were not poisoned with grief. They flowed like rivers of trust. Yet still my heart ached. Why? Why must I return? Jesus drew closer, his presence radiant with both compassion and authority. Because there are many still chained as you were, hearts weighed down by bitterness, souls locked in cells of anger. They believe holding on to hate honors the wounds of their past. They do not know it is killing them. You carry the key now. Show them how to use it. His words reverberated inside me, not as suggestion but as commission. I understood then. My testimony was not just my own healing. It was an assignment. The air grew heavy with revelation, and Jesus' gaze pierced me with a new urgency. Warn them, Evelyn. Tell them what bitterness does. Tell them what forgiveness unleashes. And tell them to trust me, for dark days are coming. Images flickered before my eyes, oceans rising, cities drowned by floods, sickness spreading like smoke across nations, crowds shouting, fists raised, brother against brother, a storm of hatred swelling over the earth. My heart shuddered at the sight. But then, woven through the visions, I saw lights, small flames burning in homes, in churches, in hidden places. People on their knees, hands lifted, whispers of prayer rising like incense. Faith was still alive, a remnant that would not be crushed. Jesus' voice steadied me. Tell them to cling to me. Tell them to trust in the Father's mercy. In the days ahead, love will be their refuge, forgiveness their shield, faith their anchor. Without these, the darkness will swallow them. But with me, they will endure. I bowed my head, trembling with the weight of his charge. This was no longer about my pain. It was about the world, about every soul clutching their own thorny knot, about every life poisoned by rage. I turned back to Matthew. His eyes shone with pride, as though he too understood. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "Go, Mom. Live the mission he has given you. I'll be waiting, just beyond the river." The field began to fade, its golden glow dissolving into shadows. The chiming river softened into silence. A gentle pull tugged at me, backward, downward. I cried out, reaching for Matthew one last time. "I love you, Maddie." "I love you too, Mom," his voice echoed, fading but steady, carrying me back through the darkness. And then the shock of air, the violent gasp of breath tearing through my chest. My body jerked, doctors shouting, hands pressing. My sister's sobs filled the sterile hospital room. I had returned. Alive. Changed. Sent. I wept, not with grief, but with freedom. For 11 minutes, I had tasted eternity. And Jesus had given me a mission, to tell you, and every soul who will listen, that forgiveness is the doorway, faith is the anchor, and love is the only way through the storm to come. My friend, if you've walked with me through this story, then you know it isn't just about me. It's about you. It's about the silent prisons. So many of us live in prisons built from grief, anger, betrayal, and hate. We clutch our pain as if it honors the wounds we've carried, but all the while it is killing us from the inside. That bitterness becomes a thorn, twisting tighter until it steals our peace, our joy, even our health. I carried that thorn for 10 years. It poisoned me until my heart gave out. And yet, in those 11 minutes beyond the veil, Jesus showed me a freedom I never thought possible. Forgiveness did not excuse what had been done. It did not erase the sorrow of losing my son, but it unlocked my cage. It set me free, and he showed me more. He showed me what is coming. The world is trembling on the edge of floods, fires, plagues, and violence. Brother will rise against brother. Nations will rage. Darkness will swell like a storm over every land. But he also showed me the light that cannot be extinguished, the light of those who trust him, who cling to his love, who walk in forgiveness instead of hate. That light can be you. Right now, you can whisper the words that unlock your own cage. You can let go. You can choose freedom. Jesus is waiting. So, if these words have touched your heart, leave an amen in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with at least 3 people you love. Do not hold it back. Every share is a seed planted, every word a light spread. Now is your time to make a difference. Spreading this message is not only an act of love, but also a mission that Jesus himself has entrusted to you.